Hi, this is Joseph Burton
And this is Linda Burton.
with Fighting to Stay Married. This week we're going to talk about Chapter 4 of Linda's book, Dancing in Harmony, a guidebook to harmonious relationship. What do you want to say this week about this chapter?
This chapter is about expectations. And to me, it's so important when you're in a relationship that you lay it on the line. I should express what I expect from you, and you should let me know what you expect from me. It's very important. And the thing I feel like a lot of people get caught up on is I might expect so much from you, but I'm not willing to do those things.
And I know that you wanted to talk about the questions that you have at the end of the chapter this week.
Yeah, the summary in the chapter is really good, but I want to focus on and discuss a little bit more about the questions that I picked.
Okay, so let's start with question 1 then. Question 1 says, are you doing what you expect your partner to do?
Right, and that's what I just said. We have expectations on each other, but am I willing to do what I'm asking you to do for me?
And what does that look like exactly then?
It's anything. It's from your rules or the guidelines that you set for yourself or for that other person. Are you willing to accept and do the same thing that you're asking that person to do?
Right. So you don't want to come off hypocritical then, or you don't want to put that mind set into your partner,
Right.
because then that can lead to some other disagreements or problems.
Yes, it would bring up a lot of other issues and you'll start resenting each other.
So do you think that would affect trust then?
Yes, it will affect trust. How can they trust you if you're not even doing what you're asking them to do?
Right. So none of the do as I say,
Just do as I say instead of,
not as I do.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. So question 2 then says, how have your expectations about your future relationship been shaped by the ways in which you were hurt in previous relationships?
I love that question because sometimes we don't take the time to go back and look of how our previous relationships and the different things we've been through affect us now on what we want and what we don't want. Sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not good. I can say if I was in a bad relationship and he totally disrespected me or he was abusive, I can sit there and say, clearly, I expect you not to hit me. I expect you not to disrespect me. I expect you not to belittle me. That's a clear expectation that I want to put, that these things right here is disrespecting myself, and I'm not going to allow you to do that.
Okay. So many times then people refer to this as baggage, putting up walls. So they go to the next relationship when they already have these walls put up from the previous relationship. So that's not fair for the next person.
Yeah.
And then and many times people, they say bring baggage into the next relationship.
Right.
Is that impossible to do though? Is that a realistic expectation for people not to bring in baggage?
Well, that goes back to the introduction chapter, and this chapter actually talk about it, but we want them to read the book, so I'm not going to give them the answer.
Oh.
But I am going to say is we do need to look and see why we do what we do. That's the most important thing. If my previous boyfriend always bought me flowers on the way home every Friday, I can't assume and expect my new boyfriend to do that. Because he might do something better, nicer, sweeter than that. And I'm hooked on, well, you didn't bring me flowers Friday when you got off work.
Oh, comparisons, yeah.
Yeah. But the expectation is I'm supposed to get this every Friday. And I'm putting it on my new person.
Gotcha. Okay. So then question 3, expectations change over time as you also change. Will you be honest and forthcoming with your partner if and when this happens?
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
We've been married 27 years, and from the first time us dating to getting married to now, my expectations, the things I want, the things I need has changed, and they have changed for you. So it's going to happen, and the reason why it happens is we continue growing. Our mind is maturing more. Some expectations that I had, I remember when we talked in the before of the list I was looking for to find the right person, is going to be different than it was 27 years ago.
Correct.
So my expectations now for what I'm looking for to have a relationship is nowhere near the same of what it was back then. Now, some things might be the same. I still want a person to respect me.
Yeah.
I still want, there's still certain things that's on that list that would never change. But other things will change because I'm changing. I'm continue growing, and I'm learning about myself at the same time.
That sounds good. So let's go to question 4 then, which is the last question of these self-reflection questions. It says, will you also be open to your partner communicating changing expectations to you?
Now, the main thing for me is I'm going to tell you what expectations I'm changing to make who I am. How can I not be open to hear what you want and what you expect? Now, my expectation on certain things has changed. Some is higher, some is lower, and yours has too. I can't always focus on what I want, what's my needs. I have to stop and look at what your needs and what you want as well to make this relationship to work as one.
So when you have a habit, so like, let's say you have a habit, and then I come to you and ask you to change that habit. So that's the expectations that I'm expecting to change.
Well, we would have to do a discussion like, why should I change the habit? How does it make you feel? I mean, it can't be just change something because you want it to change. It needs to be more than that. And you need to find out why I have that habit. Sometimes if you know why somebody do something and really understand that person, then usually it won't irritate you, bother you, or you can move on from it. The majority of times in relationships and different things in life is not about making the other person change. It's us changing the way we look of how the person's doing it.
Okay. So what happens then? So here's another question. This just popped in my head. So this relationship, you always used to go out dancing. Say a person just used to go out dancing. They're used to dancing. Now the partner is kind of uncomfortable with that now, right? You going out dancing, or their partner going out dancing, every Friday night or something like that. So it hasn't been discussed. And before, I guess it wasn't really a problem, right? So what if you have something like that? And then you go out on a Friday night, you go dancing, you come home, and then the person says, you know what? I have this issue.
Okay, then you sit down and discuss it. Why is it an issue now? Something had to happen. Did they have a child now and they want to spend more time as a family together? Did they feel or heard, or there's a rumor or assuming the person is cheating on them when they're out? I mean, what happened? Something happened, and they need to discuss that issue. After discussing that issue, which is the root, then they can get to the issue of should they stop dancing.
So then I think we should keep in mind then to expect expectations.
We all have it.
Like to expect, or maybe try to keep it on the forefront of your mind, which is probably kind of hard to do, right? Because we're on autopilot, right?
We automatically do it. We need to slow down sometimes, but I expect a stranger that's meeting me at the stop sign, I expect him to stop at that stop sign because that's the law, that's the rule. I'm expecting him to do that. Yes, I'm going to slow down or wait till I see a sign that he's going to stop before I continue going, but we already have that expectation that they will follow the law and the rules that's going around. I'm going to expect my husband to follow the rules of different things of what a marriage is in the value of God's eyes, or the agreement that we made in our vows. That is an expectation.
So the subtitle I was looking at it for chapter 4 of expectation says express what you expect. Like you were saying before.
Yes. Don't hold it in. If it's important to you, if that's the value to you, you need to share it. And in the book, we talk about making a time to share it.
So the person there has to be a safe place, they have to feel comfortable to be able to come
Yes.
to express those things.
Yes. And sometimes it's scheduling a certain time. That way you can be open and vulnerable. It's hard sometimes to be total vulnerable to a person of telling them how you feel, what you want. So you set a time, hey, Friday at 9:00, can we sit down? I want to talk to you and tell you what's going on in my mind and what I want, what I'm trying to understand, just issues that we're having. Do you mind? And you have time to prepare yourself 9:00 on Friday to have that conversation with that person, knowing they're going to be vulnerable to you to share that information, and hopefully you'll be vulnerable to them so you guys can solve the issues or the problems, or even use that time to grow closer together.
Okay. Well, that sounds really, really good. Well, I had wrote down in my notes after reading the chapter, I wrote down some of the hurts comes because you open yourself up too soon. You were driven by your emotions instead of thoughtfulness.
So sometimes our expectation is so high or so unrealistic. Sometimes our expectation is so unrealistic
Okay.
that we're expecting so much more what the person can do too soon, because we're not taking the time to know the person.
Okay.
So we need to take the time to know the person and stop setting all these high standards of what we expect for this person to be or what this relationship would be, and take the time to discuss it.
Okay.
Now, we mentioned something like that before of the previous chapter of don't assume your relationships start on this day. Ask the person to date them and set a date.
Gotcha.
You're going so quickly and you want to rush to E when are we saying our alphabets? The person's not even ready for A. They're trying to spell a whole different word and you're still trying to do your alphabets. It's like you're not even on the same field. You're doing two different things,
Gotcha.
So it's knowing in the relationship, knowing, and to explain it in the book form, you're going on the floor. What music are we listening to? Because I don't want to go out there and thinking you're going to break dance and just get down and I'm ready to do salsa. We need to make sure we hear the same music, the music type, and agree that we're going to dance to that music type.
Yeah, because you know what? Even though that might sound far-fetched, that's really not, because a person can both hear the same music, but one doesn't have any rhythm.
Yeah, like me.
Right? So one has rhythm and one doesn't, and even though you hear the same music, just because you haven't practiced or you haven't taken time to get on the same page with the dance.
Or you just don't know it and you have to learn it. I have to learn to let you lead and watch your movements by your nod of your head, by you snapping your fingers, by you stomping your feet. I have to catch your signals to know how to do that, because that's my weakness and that's your strength, and that's how a relationship works. We're going to be weak in some areas and the other person's going to be stronger, and it's going to switch, and it's about learning and understanding each other's expectations. Your expectations on the dance floor is never for me to sit there and go all out, because I don't know how to dance.
Yeah.
So you have a clear expectations of what I'm going to do. The thing is, when you don't, and you're thinking I'm going to do this elaborate thing, and then I'm just moving back and forth, snapping my fingers, and you're ready to flip and twirl me, and I don't know how to do that. It's not that it's not going to work, because I always say somebody can break that, so things can happen, so it'll be harder for it to work.
Right. Be more challenging.
Yes.
So yeah, make things as easy as they can be, or they could be, right, instead of harder.
Yes.
All right. Okay, that was chapter 4 of Linda's book, Expectations. Express what you expect. If you have any additional questions or comments, please leave them below, and we will talk to you next time. You have anything else, last words you want to say, Linda?
No, thank you for listening.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.